Wizards trade deadline for 2025 has come and gone. A lot of activity at the trade deadline, more than I've seen in quite some time, Tony. So we want to break down everything for you as best we can. Tony Massenburg along with Wes Hall here. Tony, let's start with the veterans. A lot of veterans out, including Kyle Kuzma and Jonas Valanciunas. Veterans coming in, including Marcus Smart and Khris Middleton. Your thoughts about the impact of a guy, especially like Khris Middleton on this team?
Well, I look at Khris Middleton, first of all, champion.
Yeah.
Right? And not just a champion, but a guy that could be counted on in the clutch. When you look back at the run that the Milwaukee Bucks had in 2020, 2021, he was a key figure as much as Giannis Antetokounmpo was in the fact that they won that championship. He was a guy that could close at the end. So that's what the Wizards are getting, a guy that can close, who has experience to the tune of 12 years and clearly knows what it is to be a real vet in this league. Then I look at a guy like Marcus Smart. Clearly we know what he's about, the toughness, the defensive tenacity. That's something that I think needs to be reinforced with young players to help them understand how important it is to be a good defender in this league.
Indeed, and just thinking about leadership from those two guys, obviously at the premier, especially in Khris' department, correct?
Yeah, it's Khris Middleton, champion.
Yes.
We're going to just start right there. We know that he was a 20-point plus game scorer the majority of his career. It's been a little bit down because of some injuries the last year. He had to have surgery. But he is a guy who has had tremendous success in the NBA. And so if there's anybody who can teach these guys how do you get better from year to year and get to the point where you're the best player you can be, it'd be Khris Middleton.
All right, so that's the veterans under perspective. Let's shift our gears and get to the young guys, because in all this, there's the acquisition of A.J. Johnson. And let's just be clear. The 23rd overall pick in the 2024 draft. We already had 3 in one. Now you add another pick in the 2024 draft class. Your thoughts about AJ's impact and what you expect?
Well, I expect AJ to come in and just fit right in because there are 3 guys here that were in his draft class. And he was the 23rd pick right in front of Keyshawn George, who's the 24th pick. So now what you have are 4 guys from the same draft class, 3 of which who play a similar position, Alex Sarr being the number 2 pick, and he's the center. And then now you have the potential to have all of these guys develop and come into their own at the same time. Physically, they all are going to have to get stronger because that's just part of what it is when you're 19, 20 years old coming into the NBA. But their games are very compatible when you think about the fact that A.J. Johnson is an athletic guard.
Absolutely.
Bub Carrington, athletic guard. Keyshawn George, playmaker type guard and a willing defender. And of course, we know Alex Sarr has been more than worthy of being the number 2 pick. So when you look at this collection of young talent that all has an opportunity to grow together and hopefully it all comes together, in a couple of years for the Washington Wizards, it'll be because of the moves that Will Dawkins and Michael Winger are making right now.
The perfect segue, my friend, because I want to ask you your overall assessment about what Will was able to do at this trade deadline. Like I said, a lot of movement, more so than we've usually been seeing around these parts as a while.
Yeah, well, what I'm seeing right now is, first of all, when you're in the process of building a foundation for the organization, trying to set a culture, it's important when you bring in young players that they all understand what's expected of them. And when you bring in guys who are essentially in the same draft class, then you want everybody to peak roughly at the same time. So if they're all 19 to 20 years old, you're expecting them to really start to sin when they're 22, 23 years old, when they've gotten physically stronger, they've gotten a couple of years underneath their belt as NBA players, and now you hope to start to see the fruits of that labor bear out. When you combine that with the second pick in the draft and Alex Sarr, who clearly is a lot of things are going to be expected for him, but what you've done is you've surrounded him with talent that's the same age as him. So now you have the foundation, which is what you heard Will Dawkins talking about, trying to set here, and that basically this team had to be broken down, not just knocking down walls, but you had to all the way down to the foundation. So this is that foundation, and now over the next couple of years, you hope to see all these guys' talents come to fruition.
I'm just excited, like all fans were when we were seeing so much activity. This is a continuation. You talk about foundation, brick by brick, building the new culture and the new expectations and standards. And I just love the athleticism. This is about to be a fun team
It's about
to watch
to be
play
fun
basketball.
because all these guys are extremely athletic and talented basketball players.
Tony Massenburg at our trade deadline. Oh, man, feels good to be a Wizards fan.
Yes, it does.